Welcome to this video on how to create a Performance Max campaign. Performance Max campaigns are like an upgrade on the search campaign, and it is recommended that you will have data from your previous search campaigns that you have run, and then you can work on creating a Performance Max campaign. The reason why I say this is because Performance Max campaigns uses AI to help create ads, but also it uses data from the previous campaigns, and then it uses that data to improve and increase the performance, so it has something to go off. Whereas if you don't have any data, it's got nothing to go off. So it's recommended to create a search campaign first and have this running for around at least 3 to 6 months. Most important thing is that you have to have conversions as well from the original search campaign. So have around 30 conversions each month. So you look at around, say, 90 conversions minimum before you start running a Performance Max campaign. Also, reason why I say this is because when you are running a Performance Max campaign, it's recommended to run a campaign that targets new customers. So in order to do this as well, it is recommended that you have audiences already from your previous campaign, so you can then assign that audience list to your Performance Max campaign. So then Google has something to work from and to go off. Google can use that in order to look for new customers for your business. So number one, focus on search campaigns, normal search campaigns, and then move up into Performance Max campaigns. But let's dive in and I'll show you how to run and create a Performance Max campaign. We are logged into Google Ads. This is a campaign I set up earlier, but we'll start from scratch to set up a Google Ads Performance Max campaign. So as usual, you'll click on the plus sign, new campaign. So in the Performance Max campaign, usually you want to focus on sales or leads. So for this example, I'm going to click on leads. And here, before you choose a conversion goal, you will have a number of conversions listed, because you need to set up your conversions first, and then from your conversion, you can choose which one. So for this example, I have just got submit lead form. Ignore this for now because it's a text account. So we'll just submit lead forms. So obviously we are going to create a Performance Max campaign. If you're an e-commerce website and you have a Google Shopping account or a Merchant Center account, you'll be able to click this and it'll give you a select your merchant account here. I haven't got a merchant account because obviously I am an agency and we don't use Google Shopping to sell any products. If you've got a merchant account set up, please link it if you're expanding your Google Shopping into Performance Max campaigns. Click this, but for this example, I am not going to click the merchant shopping account because I have a website that doesn't sell anything online. So this is the section where you add your website in. We will just copy and paste my website into here. What you'll do is choose a name, what you want to use to identify your campaign. So obviously it's Performance Max campaign, so we'll leave that in there. And obviously it's a leads campaign, so this is fine. So what I tend to do here is give a bit more explanation of what the campaign is about, because this is just going to be a campaign around SEO. In this example, I'm going to put SEO here. So you press continue, and then what you can do is start new. So one thing to bear in mind is on Performance Max campaigns, you have two: conversions and conversion value. In this example, I'm going to choose conversions because I want to just focus on maximizing my conversions. And because I don't have any data previously, I'm not going to add in a conversion value because I'm not too sure what the value is worth each conversion. So to give you a bit of an insight of what conversion value is, it's the monetary value you assign to a specific conversion action that reflects its impact on your business. So it's a numerical value what goes beyond simply counting conversions. It allows you to understand the true financial value of your ad campaigns. And what you might do, you might decide to add a conversion value on there because you know what you want to aim for in order to get a return back for your ad. So you can make a better assumption or a better idea of how much you want to return. You can create a value so you can track your returns better on ad spend. So you can make a more informed decision to optimize your campaign further. But for this example, I'm going to add conversions because I don't have any data to go from because it's just an example account. And also what I would do is I wouldn't set a target cost per acquisition. I'll let it run for a month or two. Then you could be able to start to find out your target cost per acquisition or your target cost per action. Because you might know your target cost per action from running previous campaigns, I wouldn't limit it because of the Performance Max campaign may get a better cost per action going forward. So leave that blank, I would, even if you choose conversions or conversion value. And also this gets down to the customer acquisition. So by default, your campaigns will bid equally for new and existing customers. However, you can configure your customer acquisition settings optimized for acquiring new customers. What I would tend to do is I would usually choose bid for new customers only. But be warned that you need to make sure you have an audience already built into your Google Ads so you can assign this audience to Performance Max. Because what will happen is Performance Max will go after new customers based on your previous data. Performance Max will understand that data and it'll know where to reach the new customers. We're going to give it some signals. So I will usually do this unless you want to have just one campaign running your account. You could just have that one running and that can by default bid for new customers and existing customers. But if you just run a search campaign alongside the Performance Max campaign, I would use bid for new customers only to support your existing campaign. And you also build up a bigger pool of audiences, new markets, new customers. So I'd select bid for new customers. I'm in the United Kingdom, so I want to just target people in the UK. And because I'm in the UK, I'm just going to set the language to English-speaking customers only. So in Google Performance Max campaigns, you can show more relevant ads, and Google AI can enhance or generate assets using the information you provided. This helps to improve performance by increasing assets variety and improving matches to customer intent. So here you can have customization. So you can select these two. So you can select customization and final URL expansion. So the first customization uses text from your site, landing pages, and provide assets to create customized ad copy. And also it creates a final URL expansion. So basically when people do a search, Google will choose the most relevant URL on your site that matches their query. And then in turn, it will lead to a better landing page and also a better performance. I'll keep these on if I'm running the Performance Max campaigns, but I'd also exclude some URLs. So some of the URLs what you might want to include is some of the pages what are not really important on your website. So you just want to focus on people coming to your commercial pages and your transactional pages. So your main category, your subcategory pages. You might want to block out here some blog pages and you want people to come to the site to transact or to buy a product. If you want people to search for your blogs, you're probably looking at more for informational searches or informational ads. So that's fine to leave them out. But I would, for this example, I'm going to leave that blank. But what I would do is obviously adding pages what I don't think are important to this campaign. Because what will happen is Google might waste unnecessary budget and send people to irrelevant pages what are not really going to get that transaction. Or, for example, if you was an e-commerce website, you could block out, and this campaign was running for men's clothing, you might want to exclude and put URLs in here what exclude women's clothing. So this is different ways you can add URLs just so you can manage your budget more effectively and efficiently. But for this example, I'm going to exclude that. Images, you want to make sure select both. You might as well use the Performance Max campaigns capabilities. Click these as well. And obviously videos as well. You want to make sure you're using videos where possible in your Performance Max campaign. So it's another way that you can communicate and connect with people with your brand. So to keep them as they are. So you can go to more settings here. What I would do is exclude my own brand, because with Performance Max campaign, you can start to quickly waste budget on your brand. If someone searches, say, Sway Digital, for example, my brand's going to come up organically in those positions. So I don't really need to bid with Google Ads. I can get my brand out. So I would exclude the brand, because realistically, you want people to focus on the terms you can't rank for, or you're struggling to rank for. This is why you're doing Google Ads, because you can't rank for the term. So it's easier to rank doing Google Ads. So you want to rank for the non-branded terms. For example, men's trainers would be a very difficult keyword to get organically. So you might want to use it in your Google Ads campaign. So focus on non-brand, because you're going to get traffic. Because if you don't, and you add your brand in as well, you might waste more money on your brand. So it's important to exclude this out. Another thing what you need to select, if you're selling products that you're in a different market where you have a certain age, you may want to exclude people out of your campaign. Again, it's some tips here. If you're a pharmacy or you work in the healthcare sector, or you're a shop and you only work for certain hours, I would usually run the campaigns within the hours of the shop. For example, you're a pharmacy and you're open from 9 till 6 and you're targeting people who want same day trial vaccinations. You may just want to run it from 9 till 6. So asset generation. So what I would tend to do here is skip this, because one of the reasons why you're going to run a Performance Max campaign is because, like I said before earlier, you want to be running it after, say, 3 months, 6 months, as long as you've got the conversions to go along with it as well. And by that time, you'll have some data about what headline works, what descriptions work. So instead of using Google in this section to automate your headlines and descriptions, what I would recommend would be to create your own headlines and descriptions based off your data. So I'd skip that. An asset group name is just essentially the same as an ad group, but in Performance Max, they call them asset groups, because it's a lead gen campaign to put lead SEO ad group. Business name, I've got my logos in there. Final URL, I might have a number, I just want people to come through online. Call outs, you might as well make the most of these and have call outs on your business. It just maximizes the space of your ad. What I would recommend doing is creating headlines based off your data. You want to be making sure that you're using data-driven headlines and descriptions that you've used before on your search campaigns. I would recommend using as much of the character space as possible. You want to make sure that you're selecting the images as well, so you can just put select all for this. But again, you might have done some testing around images, but make sure you've got images in there, and also make sure you have videos in there as well. So you're essentially adding more content around your business. So you take up more space in the Google search, which basically means that you're competing better against your rivals, especially if they don't use all the asset types. And then you can create promotions, you can have prices, you can have structured snippets as well. Just use all the space available. That's what I recommend. Signals is not like keywords, it just guides Google around who to look for and what themes you want to target. So for this example, called SEO, search engine optimization as well. So anything around your products, around your business, around your services, add them in. Again, they're not keywords, but it's just signals of intent to give some information about who you want to reach. So add these in as well. Try and add in as many as you can possibly can. Audience signals, again, you should really be using your own data. If you've got 3 to 6 months of campaign data, you should really have built up an audience list. So I definitely use it here. So here, when you search that, you should have your own audience list as well, such as website visitors. So people have come to the site, have come to the services pages or your product pages. You should have some information around that. So this will just help Google understand who to look for and what audience is interested in your product and services. And you can also save the audience list as well if you want to. So you can use it for next time. You don't need to use the recommended daily budget. You can use the lower budget, and you can also set a custom budget. As long as you're spending at least £5 to £7 a day at a very minimum, that should be a good starting point. Unless you spend more budget, you can get more data back, more feedback more quickly, so you can decide of what to do in the end. You're going to spend less budget, it might take longer to optimize and see a better return for your ads, but do whatever you're comfortable with spending so you don't get too stressed about the budget. So I'm going to just set it as £13.17 for this one. And it gives you a bit of information of what you expect to see 2.4 conversions each week across the 30.41 per conversion, and a weekly cost of £92.19. So here, when you go to next, you'll start to see here some warning signs if Google picks up on some issues with your campaign. So you can go to view on this. So view. So this is because I've chosen bid only. Customers, I mentioned before, you need to make sure that you have a list. So you can use this bid only customer acquisition. So this should essentially just go back and you can go through the steps again. Asset group. Something's picking up here. Because you selected leads as a campaign goal, you should have a lead form. That's why. Because it's not added a lead form, it's picking it up. So I've just added a lead form here. Yeah, don't be alarmed if you see any issues here. You can always go back and make some changes to make sure the campaign runs. So you can see now it is checking for errors, but it's now ready for publish. So we can publish that campaign. So there we have it. We have the campaign published. And one thing what we can do after you publish the campaign is you can go into asset groups. And so again, what we mentioned, asset groups are like ad groups. So I've got one asset group here about SEO, but I might want to create another asset ad group around focusing just on PPC. So what I would do is create another ad group, new asset group, ad group, but focus this on PPC. So instead of using SEO's themes, I'll use PPC's themes, paid search, Google Ads. So I'm targeting people who want this service. Probably use the same data, the same audience signals, because they've interacted with my site. I might have had built up an audience signal just for PPC only, so this would be ideal. So I'll add this in there as well. You can tweak the audiences and demographic details if need be as well, so it's more suited to PPC. So it's better doing like this because you're actually separating your website into different categories, so you can manage and you can understand more about how each category is performing, so you can optimize it more effectively and efficiently. Those are the things that you do when you run a Performance Max.